Hey there, I'm Benjamin from Loves Data, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the steps to set up and use Conversational Analytics in Google Data Studio. Conversational Analytics lets you chat with your data. Instead of building charts and reports, you can ask questions about your data, and an AI agent powered by Gemini will analyze your BigQuery data and give you answers in seconds. For example, you could ask, what was my revenue last month by traffic source? Or which pages had the highest engagement rate last week? The agent handles all of the analysis for you. Okay, let's jump in. Let's head to Google Cloud. Before we get started, you'll need to ensure that you have BigQuery set up and storing data. I've already created a new Google Cloud project, enabled BigQuery, and linked my Google Analytics property. And to set up an agent, you will also need to have your Google Cloud project linked to an active billing account. To check this, let's select the navigation icon on the top left corner. And let's select Billing. We can see it says, My billing account is linked to this project, so billing has been configured. I also suggest you take a moment to view the linked billing account to ensure it's active. If the billing account isn't active, this can cause issues. Now that we've checked this, it's time to set up an agent. To do this, let's select the navigation icon on the top left corner. And now let's choose BigQuery and select Agents. In some cases, you might not see what we're looking at here. You might see a message asking you to enable the Data Analytics API instead. If you see this message, then you will need to enable the Data Analytics API with Gemini and the Gemini for Google Cloud API. Once these are enabled, I recommend refreshing the page. You should then see what we can see, which is the option to create a new agent. So let's click New Agent to create a new agent. We need to give our agent a name. I'm going to set up an agent so that I can chat with data from my Google Analytics property. So I'm going to call my agent Google Analytics, but you can call your agent anything you like. You can also add an optional description. Now let's click Add Source. Since I'm using BigQuery with a daily export from Google Analytics, there's only one table. If you're also using the streaming export option, you'll see a second table. Let's select our Events table and click Add at the bottom. When I was testing everything out before recording this video, I was encountering an error message that said BigQuery agent, write access to project was denied. Please check the billing account associated and retry. After trying to troubleshoot this error, I believe it was a temporary bug. So if you encounter errors, I suggest waiting and trying again. Okay, now that we've added our source, we have additional settings and options we can adjust for our agent. This includes additional sources, which lets you connect multiple data tables to your agent. This gives it access to more complete information so it can answer more complex questions about your business. Instructions lets you give agent-specific guidance. For example, you might tell it to always round revenue to the nearest 1,000, or clarify that your team calls something a lead when it's stored as a generate lead event in the database. Verified queries are pre-built queries you know are accurate. If you have a question you ask regularly, you can save it here. This makes responses faster and more consistent because the agent uses these instead of generating a new one each time. And there are additional options. Let's leave the defaults and let's click Publish at the top. And let's click Publish again. We've now created our agent and published it so we can use it in Google Data Studio. Before we head to Data Studio, let's quickly test our agent. To do this, we can use the preview on the right. Let's enter a prompt. The agent will now access BigQuery, analyze the data, and come back with an answer. This can take a little bit of time depending on the complexity of the prompt and amount of data it's analyzing. And we can see it's given us an answer. Okay, since I've created the agent using my login details in Google Cloud, it means that I can use the same login in Google Data Studio to access the agent. To see this, you can click the arrow next to Share and select the option to copy the link to use the agent in Data Studio. Or we can head to Data Studio. And let's select Conversational Analytics on the left. If you don't see your agent, then refresh your browser. Since I'm using the same login that I used for Google Cloud, we can see the agent I just created. Let's select this. We can now enter a prompt just like we did in Google Cloud. Again, the agent will access BigQuery, analyze the data, and come back with an answer. I've also seen an error pop up at this step saying error failed to create conversation. Again, I found this was a temporary issue, and after waiting a while and retrying, the agent worked in Data Studio. So that's how you can set up and use conversational analytics in Google Data Studio. Are you going to set up conversational analytics using BigQuery? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're after an easier way to start chatting with your data, you can also check out Analytics Advisor, which is built into Google Analytics. I've included a link to my video covering this feature in the description below. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel for all of my latest tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.